What Kenneth is going to address us about is words and sentence construction and how that communicates the ideas clearly, accurately and vividly, using rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas. No jargon or unnecessary words, I better shut up there, and to use correct grammar. Kenneth.
Is there an India in your life? By that, I mean, is there a period in your life which took a grip of your imagination, which was a kernel, which grew into a tree, which reverberates through the years with you, which no matter where you go, what you do, your mind keeps coming back to, that's branded you for life. And as a brand, it sizzles through the years in memories, in smells, in absolutely everything. Because this period of your life was it. The pinnacle, for some reason, of an experience. I say this because in the 1940s, my father went to India during the war. He was there in Pune, which is up in the mountain region. He was a cook, and the stories he can regale me with now 70 years down the line are astonishingly vivid for him. Not just for him, but for us who are listening, because they do chime through the echoes of the years. It's very astonishing, because they don't dissipate, these stories, they resonate in his life. And it's not as if that he was unsuccessful in his life thereafter. He was hugely successful. He was a man that became a director of a company, a major company, and a governor of a higher education college. And yet, if you ask him about the important times in his life, he returns again and again to this period in the 1940s in India, when he was a cook. And some of the stories he tells are absolutely amazing. He tells of fights between a small dog, the captain's dog, and bandicoots, huge big rats that infested the camp. Absolutely terrifying they were. These are not just weedy rats like you might see here. These are 2 feet tall rats, very vicious, hugely adventurous and marauding. They will scour the whole place. And he tells of one night when this wee dog went to battle with a horde of these animals, and the dog went down fighting. In the morning, they found 20 rats dead, along with the wee dog, because the wee dog was, can anyone guess? Wee black and white terrier, Jack Russell. Just a tiny wee dog, but full of heart. And not only that, but it really reverberated with my dad, I think, because his life at that time's full of death. He was stationed in Pune at the time of the people coming back down the line from the camps of the Japanese, and they were totally emaciated. He had to stop his people feeding them, because if they fed on solids, they died. Just couldn't handle it. And yet, some of the stories he tells are absolutely hilarious. To offset, perhaps, the horrors of the death that he encountered. He tells of a Christmas Eve, a time in which he was told to cull the turkeys for that evening meal. And he was faced with a huge pen of turkeys. And he was given a hatchet. And he tells of hacking off these poor birds' necks, and of the headless birds running round that encampment until they fell lifeless. He tells of the rain. The rain, which at one time was fantastic because it fell and it got rid of the prickly heat that he'd been absolutely bedevilled with. And yet that same rain became a torrent so vast and so horrific that he saw one bird, a huge bird, a crow, which was down getting a drink and suddenly was beaten and pulverized into submission and was simply washed away by the sheer force of the water. There's water everywhere, and yet he couldn't drink any of it. Just as he couldn't eat fish that was sent from the ports 3 days' journey away, and he was sent up in trucks, unrefrigerated trucks, up to this camp where he was the cook. And when it arrived, the stench was unbearable, and all they could do was bury it. Totally unusable. It was rank, it was rotten. So they had to bury it. He tells of other adventures of this military nonsense in a land of the British Raj, which was still rank itself because they would not allow the British servicemen in their hotels if they were privates. They would not allow them until the American soldiers boycotted them and said, we will not be coming into your places unless your own people can come in. But more than these offences to him, I think, what really got him was India itself. It made a mark in him. The senses, the smells, the colours, the people. He has absolutely astonishing ability to communicate with people. He knows the lingo. 70 years down the line, he still goes in for his papers and he still jabbers away in Indian dialects to the British-born Indian folk behind the desks. And it's hilarious because they can't understand him, but other people, their parents, can understand him. So, is there an India like that in your life? There isn't in my life, and I hope that someday there will be, but I think there is in Steve's life. Thanks very much.